Well, welcome back to the Lucky 13 podcast, where we talk about all things people and profit in business. I'm your co-host, Mike Lantz.
And I'm actually going to share a secret with this one. I'm Joshua Hauser. That's my middle name, my mother's maiden name. And I'm the last one in the line of Sheffys right now. So I don't know why that just popped in my head, but I thought I'd share that with you today.
Are there any other Sheffys in the world? Or
I'm guessing there is, and they might be related, but they don't look like us, probably intentionally. We did name our fifth child, the daughter, her middle name is Sheffy, so that we have one more legacy Sheffy out there someplace. But that made me think of, speaking of legacy, thank you, first of all, for the IU tickets. Mike, you got to play against IU, Indiana State. Played against IU, and it was a great experience. You got us amazing tickets. But I'm sitting in the stands, and this man says Mr. Hauser. And I'm like, why is this man calling me Mr. Hauser? And it's Jackson. And oh my gosh, this little guy who I watch play football puts his arms around me, and I can't get my arms around him. He's this beast of a kid, and just this smile that lights up the whole stands. Yeah. And then 5 minutes later, you tap me on the shoulder. But it wasn't you. It was just like a 30-year younger you,
Mason.
Which is identical. Holy smokes. But kudos to you, man. Yeah. What great kids. What a great experience to be at an IU game and then see two people that are just as authentic and carry that genetic pool and that upbringing that you have. And so kudos to you on that
genetic pool. So basically what you said is one is an athlete and the genetic one is not.
You call it what you want to, but I tell you what, you can't change the character of either one of them. And that tells a lot about you and Julie. So kudos to you. And what an experience. What a great chance just to see a game, but also see two kids who've grown up literally in front of your eyes, who are now literally members of society and men. So,
yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. And for those of you who haven't listened to our first episode, we encourage you to go back and listen to
Absolutely.
that. You'll learn in that Lucky 13 stands for the combined. I have 5 kids. You got 8. I about said the combined kids that we have, but we don't have any kids together.
We're not anymore. No, not since the snip.
So. Your 8 and my 5 makes up the Lucky 13.
It does.
And then our 2 amazing wives that have allowed us to play around in life while they actually done all the hard work.
I feel like we should put like a squared on the 13 so that our wives realize they're the exponential side of our life. That might have bought me out of trouble for doing something dumb later.
That's a really great idea. So, well, we want to welcome everybody back to the Lucky 13 podcast. This is our second episode. Hey, at least we're back for a second episode.
We made it.
This has been a podcast that's been a long time in the planning. Our relationship goes all the way back to 2006. Really started around our kids and football and all of that. So I'm sure there'll be lots of stories. But what I'd like to talk about today, Josh, is both you and I were out working with business owners a lot. And just in the past week, I've been around business owners who, let's say that they're operating their business like a prevent defense.
Oh, yeah.
They are not making decisions. They're not decisive at all. They're not thinking growth. They're just hunkering down going, I just need to get by because of some of the uncertainty in the marketplace today.
Got the brakes on.
Brakes are on. Then I'm around other business owners that the phrase that, probably your son used in football and Jackson used was all gas, no brakes.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the time to really go for it. And I'm hearing those kind of conversations. And so it's kind of crazy. It reminds me actually, Josh, of COVID. There were business owners,
Correct.
Once they kind of got through the initial shock of what COVID was, there were some that said, all gas, no brakes. Let's just go and figure out how we can run our business with this new thing. And then other people that were just really, they were laid back. They lacked decisiveness. They weren't growing. So I'd like to talk about that a little bit today because I think there's pros and cons of both sides. And so let's dive in.
You know what? When you said that, it reminded me, I work with a guy named Scott Jared, who's a Ball State philosopher, if you can put those two words together.
He and David Letterman, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. About the same humor, same mentality there. I think they probably drank about the same amount too. I'll get in trouble for that later. But he says this all the time. When people get fearful, get greedy. When people get greedy, get fearful. And I'm watching this fearfulness in segments of the marketplace right now. And I'm also watching those folks who are hitting that greedy button, that if my competitors or if this marketplace is starting to get fearful, that's my time to take action. And I think that's what you're alluding to right now, is that greed has this negative connotation to it, but it's greedy in the sense of the opportunity exists and I'm going to take it. Because I know as a former basketball player, I couldn't play a prevent defense because, first of all, my favorite 2 words in basketball were help and switch. So that doesn't work well in a prevent defense, but I could shoot it, right? And I wanted to go to organizations that can shoot it. And I bet you're starting to see that in the talent pool right now, that those greedy sides that are hoarding everything, those fearful sides that are hoarding right now, the scarcity mindset, that the true shooters, the goers, the gunners, the people who want to run down the field, if you will, are looking to say who is right now taking advantage of this opportunity. What are you seeing in the marketplace with that?
Yeah, that's a really great point, the way you're thinking about it, because top talent joins businesses in many cases because of the vision of the visionary of where the business is going, not necessarily where it is today, and how they can be a part of that moving forward. So when that stops, all of a sudden they start looking around. I mean, there's like dozens of football examples we could kind of give where, especially now with the portal being open in college football, if those players are not seeing a coach with a great vision and casting this future of where they're going, they're raising their hand, jumping in the portal and finding another place to go. And I think that's exactly what's starting to happen in business today.
And we think it's a monetary jump in those portals. And I think you nailed it. It's about a vision. And so if we're giving our first tip and you're that leader, are you casting a vision that's keeping your top talent to just so focused and excited that I'm going to be a part of something bigger than who I am right now? That although I want to be a better me, I want to be part of this we. Because if not, then we're going to have a lot of me's out in the world by themselves. Because and we know we hear this all the time, right? You want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, go together. A great visionary, a great leader of an organization who casts that vision is going to attract that, right? They're going to have gravity and pull those people who are like, I want to go someplace with a purpose. By the way, there'll be a monetary access to that. Rather than I'm just going to live where I'm at and this safety blanket that I have will hold me. The problem is that safety blanket's in a constant erosion phase. That's what I feel like. It's always in that phase of slowly slipping away.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's talk about, since we want to relate everything back to people and profit.
Love it.
What are some of these companies that are in this kind of hold back stage? What do they stand to lose? You talked about they're going to lose their people because their people want to grow and they want to be part of a vibrant organization. So they're going to lose their people.
Yeah, now you got my wheels turning, because I would argue that if you've built great processes, you can take any person and plug them in, i.e. the stinking Patriots. I can't believe I got to say that out loud. I'll have to throw up about that later. But who are all the receivers who ever played with Tom Brady, right? So that was a process-oriented business, if you will, the NFL business of football. But what I would still say is that Belichick always cast a vision and drew those right players in that understood, I can take my unique ability and plug them into that process. So a couple things I might think about. If I am in that hold back mode, a couple things I'd be doing right now is solidifying my process because my people are at risk. And so I got to have a process that's repeatable because the hungry are going to go want to hunt again. And the same token, though, what can I be doing to pour in those people even though I'm in this prevent? How am I developing those to take advantage of when I'm ready to release the hounds, if you will?
Yeah, because I don't think we're saying that prevent's bad.
No.
There's some businesses that have to be in that spot today, but there's things that you can be doing.
Oh, my gosh.
Circling the wagons around your top players, making sure that they're fulfilled. Maybe if you have to do some layoffs, taking some of those savings that you had from the layoffs and giving some of those dollars to your top players so that you can make sure that when you're coming out of the prevent eventually, that you still have a good, solid core team of great performers.
Can you imagine just waking up and saying, you know what, I'm going to rather than pour investments into the business right now, I'm going to pour investments into my people. And the business is going to have to hold status quo, but I'm getting us ready to take the big leap next. I get that if that's the prevent mindset.
Yeah.
If it's just about trying to hold on to everything you have without developing those around you and pouring into the profit of what people are, the capitalization of human energy, man, you're going to miss an opportunity because that human energy will find a place to release itself.
Yeah. So let's flip to the other side now.
That's the fun side.
That's the fun side. That's the all gas, no brake side. So, it appears to me that Invest is kind of in that mode.
We are.
So talk to me a little bit about, the opportunities that exist for a company that sees the world in that way.
Well, and I think it starts with, and I'm so glad we've talked about EOS in our previous episode, is that although you want to find those hungry A players, it's got to start with values. And if people don't align with the values, which ties right to vision, right? If your values and purpose don't align with those folks, it doesn't matter who you bring in. And then back to another football reference, I'll call that the Raiders or the Bears. Over and over, they bring in all the top talent, but it's not based off values. It's not based off of a vision of where we're going. And so you see mediocre talent beating top talent. What is it? It's 70% consistency and skill sets will beat athleticism all the time. But when you put athleticism and consistency and skill sets together, that's an unstoppable force. And so if you're in that all gas mode, you have to take that same approach that the brakes are right now of, am I creating enough space with barriers and teaching them how to set the brakes in all gas, because turns are going to happen, right? We watch the Indy 500 every year. They don't wreck on the front stretch.
That's right.
They wreck going into the curve, right? And they're not taking their foot off the brake, but off the gas, but they're tapping that brake just enough to set the nose. And so I think great organizations that are trying to grow right now have to realize that with that talent, they got to set that nose a little bit. It's easier to bridle a Maverick than kick a mule, but you got to be willing to put that bridle on a little bit.
Yeah. I think there's an area that, and I think about a past role that I had. I used to work for a company here in town called Defenders.
Great company.
We grew from, nothing to 700 million in about 16 or 17 years. And I remember the organization going through in 06, 07, 08, 09, really 07, 08, 09, the Great Recession. And we were growing really, really fast still. And we had this opportunity to go attract talent to us that was in the marketplace, either employed in the marketplace with companies that were playing prevent defense, or they were in the marketplace because they got laid off by a company that was playing prevent defense. And we were all gas and no brakes. So we were able to attract some talent to our organization that likely we couldn't have had otherwise at that point in time in the company's growth, because we were about 100 million and not sure we could have gotten some of that talent. And so we had a specific strategy to go out and find people that could elevate our company faster than we could do it. And they were usually people that we couldn't even touch back in 2005 or 2004.
Man, you hit me. So what you did, though, what I hear you guys, what you said is that you clearly defined who you were looking for during that time frame. And what we know is what the brain desires, the eyes will see and the ears will hear, right? And so if you're desiring to find top talent, and you define what top talent means, and then you define what that value is to that top talent, your eyes will see it and your ears will hear it, and that will be reciprocated by the top talent in the field. But you took the time to clearly identify, this is what we're going to do and look for it. Yeah. It can't just be happenstance, because happenstance, I'd love to win the lottery too. It still hasn't happened. I'm going to buy a ticket every once in a while, but it still hasn't happened. But when I'm intentional about what I do, then I actually get the intentional results. And what I heard you say is, we were looking for top talent when everybody else was either laying off or holding on. And because we were looking for it, our brains triggered it, our eyes saw it, our ears heard it, and then we started speaking that language, and the people who were ready to hear it were there.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll talk a lot in future episodes about talent attraction strategy and employer brand and all of that. But I think one of the pieces of it, and this is before at least I knew of EOS, and before EOS was really on the map, and EOS does a really great job helping people walk through this, but it's about identifying those core values. It's about identifying where you're going and collapsing that into a story that you can tell that then attracts people to your organization.
Oh, I love it. I've said this 1,000 times. I'm not a sales guy, but sales is transferred through emotions and stories. I mean, it's just a transfer of emotions, right? Emotions is transferred through stories and pictures. And you nailed it. If you don't have a great story and can't illustrate a picture that they can actually see, whether it be physically or you can actually paint it, verbally where they can see it, that's hard for people to buy into, just a data on a piece of sheet and this is the numbers I'm going to get. Yeah. And so that is so important that you call that out, that no matter what, if you're in the horde or if you're in the growth, you got to have a story that keeps people attracted to it, because that's where that emotion is going to stay.
Yeah, excellent. Well, as we promise all of our listeners, we're always going to give 1 or 2, 3 things that they can, once this podcast is over, they can pull into their office and then they can go and just apply something to it. So if a listener is checking in and they're like, unfortunately I'm in that prevent defense mode, what are 1 or 2 or 3 things that they can do today, right now? What comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I would, first of all, if you're in the prevent mode and you want to keep the talent you have, then you're going to have to put energy into keeping that talent, which means it's got to be intentional. I would argue, have you discovered their why? Have you discovered, I'm going to go Simon Sinek for a second, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Have you discovered their why? And then are you actively pursuing helping them discover what that why means for them long-term and how it incorporates with the company? And that we're going to go through what we're going through now. I call it the buffalo, right? That we have a storm. We're going to herd together as buffaloes and go through the storm rather than scatter as cattle. And we'll get through it quicker, but I need to know what you need to get through that storm together. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I love that one, because that's about just coming and being transparent.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, we have a choice. we're hunkering down right now. We've got a plan for beyond, but we have to make these decisions so that we have an organization that exists beyond some of this uncertainty.
And you're in our plans to do so.
Yeah.
But I want you to go through this with me, and here's why. And that transparent word, I don't want them to assume what it is. Let's just get it clear. Let's just get it out in the open. This is who we're going to be.
Yeah. Okay. If you're on the flip side and you're a company that's all gas, no brakes, I'm going to throw one out real quick. Go start identifying talent that's in the marketplace or talent that you're deficient of or that you need an upgrade in, and go find those people in the marketplace and see if they want to come join your vision.
I love the fact that you said identify the deficiencies and then go find that talent, right? A lot of times we'll go find a talent. We'll go find another point guard, and I already got 3 on the roster, right? I think Braden Smith's the best point guard in the Big Ten. Sorry about IU, but
That's all right.
I'm a Westfield guy. I got to root for. And when I see Purdue recruiting another point guard, I'm like, what are they doing? You know what I'm saying? I feel that way.
Yeah.
I get it that's part of the process. But where are you deficient in right now, and go find that answer.
Yeah.
And then go find that person that fits that. And you've defined what the role is. Hopefully you've clarified what the values are. Now put that story together.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Well, there's a couple, regardless of where you are in the marketplace right now, there's a couple of strategies that you can go after. We know that there's uncertainty right now, and hopefully we'll come through that in short order. So just to kind of recap for a lot of our listeners, our Lucky 13 podcast, we're all about talking about all topics relative to people and profit. You can connect with us on our LinkedIn page, Lucky 13. You can go to our website, lucky13.com. Josh Hauser on LinkedIn or Mike Lantz on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you and understand the topics that you want us to discuss and that sort of thing. But episode number 2.
Episode number 2, and I got more notes to take. I feel like we're doing a podcast for me to take back and use, so I hope some of these folks are doing the same.
Yeah, awesome.